Hi guys, GeekTruth64 here, and today we're going to be talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp, starring Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Pena, and a bunch of other people. This is the sequel to 2015's Ant-Man, and here we find our heroes in the search for Janet Van Dyne, who was lost in the quantum universe some 30 years ago. There will be some spoilers after my own end credits, but the review itself will be spoiler-free, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm going to kick off the review by talking about our characters, specifically our title characters of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is funny, just like he was in the first film, and I love how they build on the relationship with his daughter in this. However, his relationship with the Wasp never feels as fleshed out as it should be, nor is it handled as well as it should be, in my opinion. There was obvious chemistry between the two of them in the first film, and sometime in between Ant-Man and Civil War there was apparently an outright relationship between the two of them. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that, and we begin the movie here with that relationship being over. Then we're supposed to buy that relationship rekindling throughout the movie, but I never really felt it because there wasn't enough time given to it. But it's certainly not the fault of Evangeline Lilly or Paul Rudd, it's just they did not give him enough time. Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp is badass in this movie, which isn't much of a surprise. It was apparent in the first film that she was born to wear the suit designed by her father. She is smarter than Ant-Man, a better fighter than Ant-Man, and has arguably more high-tech suit than Ant-Man. I love Evangeline Lilly in this movie. As I said, she is really badass, but a bit too badass at times. She overshadows Ant-Man for most of the movie. The title could have been The Wasp and Ant-Man. Ant-Man just doesn't get as much time to shine, almost forcing him into less of a partner role and into one of like a sidekick. I do wish they balanced the two a bit more, utilizing more of Ant-Man's gadgetry and criminal mind to complement Wasp's intelligence and badassery. Ant-Man at times is made into a bumbling fool in order to elevate the Wasp, and that just wasn't necessary. The action sequences are awesome. As with the first movie, they used the size changing to create some cool, unique fight scenes and car chases that are unique to the Ant-Man trilogy or franchise. The comedy is fairly solid. Not every joke lands, and I didn't laugh out loud at any scene in particular, but I did have a grin on my face for most of the runtime, and that ain't nothing. As far as the villains go, MCU villains have been historically weak, mostly just serviceable at best. Here's no different, though the real villain or obstacle to overcome is the mission to save Janet. So essentially, there are 4 villains in this movie. I'll go ahead and break them down. The first one is a Ghost. That cool suit that you see in the poster and those phasing effects that you saw in the trailer. Ghost is a serviceable villain with a little more depth than some of the other villains, but also never as imposing as I think she's meant to be. I can't really say more than that without getting into spoilers. If you want to hear more comments on that, just stay tuned after the credits. I might comment on it a little bit more. The second villain is this guy, who basically plays the same character in every movie he's in. And he is the leader of this criminal gang who wants to steal Pym's research to sell on the black market. He mostly serves as an annoyance. Unfortunately, he does get a lot of screen time that probably could have been served better elsewhere. I feel like he eats up way too much screen time for his point in the movie. Though without him, we would miss out on an awesome car chase, so I guess there's that. The third villain is the FBI. They are a real problem for Scott Lang since Scott is on house arrest and the head FBI agent is constantly trying to catch him breaking house arrest. The FBI is also on the search for Hope and Hank as well, who are on the run thanks to Ant-Man's involvement with Captain America in Civil War, so it all kind of ties back really well. The fourth villain is the main one, and it isn't an actual villain. The real mission is rescuing Janet from the quantum realm. It is the main obstacle. Those previous 3 villains are just in the way. They up the tension factor for the actual rescue. Yes, Ghost, the FBI, and the criminals aren't good villains, but they serve the purpose of hindering the rescue attempt, so it all kind of comes together and make a solid second half of the film. Which brings me to the pacing. The first quarter does a pretty solid job of catching us up on things. However, The second quarter drags hard. I found myself ready for a pee break, feeling that I wasn't really going to miss much. But the second half picks up that pace and it carries it all the way through to the end. As I said, I really enjoyed the second half of this movie. That was pretty much non-stop greatness. So I actually did like Ant-Man and the Wasp more than the first film, Ant-Man. I thought that Ant-Man and the Wasp had better pacing for the most part. It was a bit more personal with a good family dynamic. It had some better action scenes and it had better villains, even though they weren't that good. I thought Yellow Jacket from the first film, Ant-Man, was possibly the worst MCU villain. Well, other than that Dark Elf, whatever his name is, I'll throw it up here, from Thor the Dark World, and nobody remembers that movie or that villain, or just, that's, I don't want to talk about Thor the Dark World. There are some plot holes and things that if they had addressed would have made the movie better. I do think that spending some more time on Ant-Man and the Wasp relationship would have helped. Like I said, taking some of that time away from that thug guy and putting it into the relationship building would have been a better use of time. I think that there are some scenes that just eat up valuable screen time that could have been put to better use elsewhere. But overall, it's a good entry into the Marvel chronology. Ant-Man and the Wasp, or The Wasp and Ant-Man, is not a great movie, but it is a really fun movie. That's the best way to describe it. It is fun. Not dumb fun like the Fast and Furious movies, just fun. I walked out really happy to have seen it. So I'm going to talk about the end credits scene a bit after I actually get through my end credits. So if you want a little bit of spoilers and all that stuff, stay tuned till after my own credits. But my score for Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be 7.5 Rick Moranis's out of 10. Hi guys, thanks for sticking around till after my credits. I try to keep them short, so I just wanted to do a real quick talk about the end credit scene. So the end credit scene ties back into the Marvel Infinity War. So in Marvel Infinity War, the whole time I was watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, I wondered where it took place in regards to Infinity War. I kind of expected sometime through the movie there half the people would just turn into dust, which I think could have been a really cool idea to just throw off whatever plot was going on, just have them burst into dust, 3/4 into the movie and completely throw off the whole plot of what had been building up, and they just have to deal with it. I think that could have been a cool ending, but I do like that they did address where it fits in the post-credit scene. This is one of the best post-credit scenes that I've ever seen, I think, as far as how much I got into it. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It ties directly into Infinity War, and God, this scene's just so good. I'm not going to talk about anything else. I'll go ahead and let you guys go. I appreciate you guys sticking around. I would like to see your thoughts on the movie. If you'd like to comment below, like and subscribe if you want to, or not. I'm not a beggar. I'm Geek264. I'll always tell you the truth.